Ted Bundy?
I've never spoken to anybody about this.
He didn't look like a killer. He looked like someone who might run for office, work in a courtroom, or walk you to your car with a smile. But behind that friendly face was a different kind of monster. One who could charm you into helping him carry books to his car, only for you to vanish forever. This is the story of Ted Bundy, a man who embodied the most terrifying truth of all, that evil doesn't always look like evil. Sometimes it smiles, sometimes it says please, and sometimes it holds the door open for you.
Ted Bundy was born Theodore Robert Cowell on November 24, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont. From day one, his identity was a lie. His mother, Eleanor Louise Cowell, was just 22 and unmarried. To avoid the shame, her parents raised Ted as their own son. His mother was introduced as his older sister. Ted wouldn't discover the truth until years later, and when he did, it deeply unsettled him. Who was he really? The result of a mistake? An unwanted child? Or worse? Some reports even suggest that Bundy's biological father may have been abusive or mentally unstable, but the truth remains murky, like much of Bundy's early life. In his teenage years, his family moved to Tacoma, Washington, where his mother married Johnny Bundy, a cook. Ted took his stepfather's last name, but never truly accepted him. He saw Johnny as beneath him, uneducated, working class. And for someone as intelligent and image-conscious as Ted, that mattered more than anything. Ted was smart, that much was clear, but socially, he was awkward, introverted. He struggled to make friends. Teachers remembered him as bright, but emotionally cold. He didn't blend in and didn't want to. As he entered adolescence, darker tendencies emerged. He became obsessed with violence, particularly sexual violence. He was fascinated with true crime stories and often roamed his neighborhood at night, peeping into windows and stealing. The warning signs were there, but no one really saw them. Not yet.
Bundy enrolled at the University of Puget Sound, then transferred to the University of Washington, where he studied psychology. By all accounts, he was maturing. He dressed well. He was articulate, ambitious. He joined the Young Republicans, worked on political campaigns, and even volunteered at a suicide crisis hotline. Ironically, Ted once saved lives, all while plotting how to end them. At the Crisis Center, he worked alongside Anne Rule, a former police officer and true crime writer. She described him as charming, kind, and sensitive. Years later, she would write the book that shocked America, The Stranger Beside Me. In college, Ted fell in love with a classmate historians refer to as Stephanie Brooks, a beautiful, upper-class woman from California. She represented everything Ted wanted: elegance, status, control. But she didn't think he measured up. When she broke off the relationship, it shattered him. Bundy didn't just take the heartbreak personally, he took it as a mission. He reinvented himself. He started dressing sharper, studied harder, spoke more confidently. He even got into law school. Then, years later, when he reconnected with Stephanie and convinced her he had changed, he turned around and ghosted her. No explanation, no goodbye. It wasn't about love anymore. It was about winning.
By early 1974, young women started disappearing in Washington and Oregon. One here, one there. all around college campuses. The pattern was hard to ignore. They were all young, white, slender, with long dark hair parted down the middle, just like Stephanie. Police were baffled. There was no forced entry, no clear motive, and no suspects. But behind the scenes, Ted had developed a method. He'd fake an injury, wear a sling or crutches. He'd approach a woman in a parking lot or library, asking for help loading something into his car, his Volkswagen Beetle. Once inside the car, it was over. Bundy later described how he would knock them unconscious, handcuff them, and drive them to remote locations. There, the horror would begin. By the summer of 1974, 8 women were missing. Witnesses started reporting seeing a man named Ted, driving a Beetle, wearing a sling. And yet, Bundy remained invisible, blending in, always smiling. He even continued dating a new girlfriend, Elizabeth Klopfer, who would later go to police multiple times, unsure, afraid, but suspicious. Even she wasn't fully convinced. Not yet.
In August 1975, Bundy was pulled over by police in Utah. Inside his car, they found handcuffs, a ski mask, rope, a crowbar, a murder kit. Still, it wasn't enough. Eventually, he was charged with attempted kidnapping after one woman, Carol Duranch, managed to escape his car and identify him in court. He was sentenced to prison, but it wasn't over. In June 1977, during a court hearing in Colorado, Bundy was left alone in a law library. He jumped out of a second-story window and ran. He was free for 6 days before being recaptured. But Bundy wasn't done trying. In December, he escaped again, this time through a hole in the ceiling of his cell. He lost weight, shaved, dressed like a guard, and walked right out the front door. From there, he traveled east to Florida. The most horrifying chapter was about to begin. On January 15, 1978, Bundy broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. The door was unlocked. No one heard him come in. In just 15 minutes, he attacked 4 women, killing 2 and severely injuring the others. He used a club, bit one of the victims, and sexually assaulted them in a frenzied, silent rampage. Then, he disappeared into the night. Later that day, he attacked another woman just blocks away. And just weeks later, Bundy abducted 12-year-old Kimberly Leach from her middle school in Lake City. Her body was discovered in a pig shed. This time, police were ready. On February 15, 1978, Bundy was pulled over driving a stolen car. Inside were stolen credit cards and IDs. He gave a false name, but fingerprints told the truth. Ted Bundy was caught for the final time.
Bundy's trial began in June 1979. It was the first nationally televised trial in U.S. history, a true courtroom circus. Bundy fired his lawyers and chose to represent himself, relishing the spotlight. He cross-examined witnesses, argued legal points, and smiled for the cameras. Women lined up to see him. Some believed he was innocent. Others were just fascinated. The evidence was damning. A bite mark on one victim matched Bundy's teeth perfectly. Hair, blood, fibers, all linked him to the scene. In July 1979, he was convicted of 2 murders and sentenced to death. But even then, Bundy found ways to manipulate. He proposed marriage to Carol Ann Boone, his former coworker, during court. She said yes.
They had a child together while he was on death row. He would eventually be convicted of a third murder, that of Kimberly Leach, and given another death sentence. Still, Bundy tried every appeal possible, but time was running out.
In the final weeks before his execution, Bundy began to confess. Over dozens of hours of interviews, he described how he chose victims, how he manipulated them, and what he did afterward. He admitted to killing over 30 women, but investigators believe the real number is far higher, possibly over 100. He revealed disturbing details. He revisited crime scenes. In some cases, he returned to his victims after they were dead. Bundy blamed everything from pornography to alcohol to childhood trauma. But in the end, he admitted what many had long suspected. He killed because he wanted to. He once said, "Murder is not just a crime. It becomes a kind of possession. They are part of you. The victim becomes a part of you." On January 24, 1989, at 7:16 a.m., Ted Bundy was executed in the electric chair. Outside the prison, crowds cheered, some held signs, others danced. Justice had arrived, but the scars remained. Bundy changed how America viewed crime and criminals. He wasn't a shadowy figure lurking in alleys. He was the man offering to help you with your groceries. He was polite, intelligent, smiling. And that's what made him so terrifying. Because Bundy didn't wear a mask. The mask was his face. And that face reminds us, even now, that the most dangerous people might be the ones we trust the most.
If you found this story interesting, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Every week, we dive into a new chapter from the darkest corners of true crime history. There's always more to uncover and more stories that deserve to be told.